So now let's talk about a different scenario. This one's not going to use lists, but this is what if you want to have an image on one side and text on the other. So this is not the natural flow. The natural flow would be to have the text falling right underneath. So let's set this up using floats as well. You should be working from the page Pioneers Start. Okay, well the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to write a rule that's going to target the images within my main, and we're going to make those images float to the left. Okay, so I have the brackets set up here already. For my CSS rule, I'm targeting my images within my main, and I'm going to do float left. And that's pretty much the big start. Almost everything else that we have to do is stuff that we've already covered. This has to do just with the padding and spacing elements. Okay, well we have to get this to go down there and we have to get these to separate. So going back into that CSS rule, let's add some padding to our image. I'm going to put padding on the right. I'll put that at 20 pixels to separate out my image from my text. Remember, we always want to have that separation. And I'm going to add a little bit of padding on my left as well. Okay, just to move that over a little bit. Okay, now we have this problem so that this text here, my heading, is trying to creep up. We talked about this before in the last video. It's trying to creep up because it thinks that it's some available space. So we want to apply the same technique of giving height to be able to create like this into its own region. So I have my image here and I have my paragraph, and I want this all to have height so this guy won't think it's available real estate and try to move up. So the question is, what do I want to add height to? I have an image here and then I have a paragraph. See, in my code, this is marked off with it's marked up as the P tag. It's a paragraph. If I give height to my image, that's actually going to make my image taller and distort it. I don't want to do that. So instead, I'm going to target the P tag that is inside of my main and give that one height. So up here, I have hashtag main, and here's my P tag. Now what's the height? Well, the height should probably be the height of my image. Okay, so let's look at the height of our images. This one, for example, is 271 pixels high. So let's add that to our paragraph. Remember, we're not trying to change the height of our image. 271. So height 271 px. Okay, and that certainly fixed the problem for this one, for this one, for this one, but what I don't really like is that this has even space above it and below. So at a first glance, you're not sure, is this John Cage or is this John Cage? So we'll need to fix that. And this one is fixed, and this one, and they look like they're all fixed, although this one, same thing. The space is a little bit much, a little bit too close to the top and the bottom. So I could give a little bit more height to kind of push some of those headings down. The other thing I could do is for my H3, these headings, I could put a little padding on the top. Maybe 15 pixels, 20 pixels, something like that. Just to make sure that there's always more space above it than below it. And that will help always align, associate the heading with the image below it, right? Okay, so this is a lot better. Before we had some where, well, this one is still a little bit, so maybe I end up making a little bit more space here because we really want to make sure that there's more space above it than below, because this heading does go with the one below it. So I could simply change that up to maybe 20 pixels. Okay, so that looks better. All right, and a couple other things I could do here. If I wanted to indent this, then I would give that padding on the left, my H3, if I wanted to have that indented. There needs to be a little bit more space on the right-hand side of our paragraph. So it's just a little bit on the tight-hand side here between this and the edge of that container. So that would just be targeting the main P. Maybe I do something like text, align, justify, give it a nice clean edge here, and then give it a little bit more, give it a little bit of padding on the right hand side. Oops. I'll do 15px as well. Okay, that looks better. A little bit more space. Let's save this and look at it in the browser, just to make sure it's all looking okay. And here it is. Okay, so that looks pretty good. As I said, if you want, you could go in and add some padding to these, or you could even put them text align center. You're just going to target that H3. Right, and in the next video, we're going to talk about how you can make some of your images go to the right and some go over to the left.